Hello everyone and welcome to our second class breakdown. Now in this video we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over the Frost spec for a PvP Death Knight using a dual wield spec. Now if you plan on rolling Frost or if you've rolled in Frost before, you know that you can use a two-handed weapon or you can use dual wield. Now out of my own personal preference, I like dual wield. I like I like seeing the numbers much faster. I know that using a two-handed weapon you see bigger numbers, but in reality you actually hit a little bit harder using dual wield. So I'll probably end up creating a video of me in a battleground to show that, like to show the difference, but that's not what this video is about. In this video we are going to go ahead and go over the talents and the glyphs if you plan on rolling a Frost Death Knight PvP spec using dual wield. So to start things off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go under our three different trees, but obviously most of our points are going to go under our Frost. Now I'm not going to go over each talent 100% individual. I'm basically just going to sum them up, and if there's a reasoning for them, I'll go ahead and explain those. Now to start things off, you need to grab 2 out of 2 of Icy Reach. This increases the range of your Icy Touch, Chains of Ice, and Howling Blast. Icy Touch is a disease applier. Same with Howling Blast when you go ahead and grab the glyph. And then Chains of Ice comes in later with another talent that will basically freeze them in place. So having that extra 10 yards can be very, very helpful. Now since we're rolling dual wield, we need to grab Nerves of Cold Steel. This increases your chance to hit with one-handed weapons by 3%, and it also increases the damage of your offhand weapon by 25%. Now that's a big buff to your offhand weapon, so definitely if you plan on rolling dual wield, this is what you want. In tier 2 we want to grab 3 out of 3 of Annihilation, which just increases the damage of Obliterate, and Obliterate as a Frost Death Knight is one of our biggest skills. Lichborn, this is a skill that comes in partake with a macro that I'm going to show you at the end of the video, that basically it allows you to heal yourself. It makes it so that you're immune to charm, fear, and sleep effects, and then while that, it basically makes you undead, so you can heal yourself with Death Coil. And last, you want to grab Endless Winter, which makes it so that your Mind Freeze no longer costs Runic Power. Now, Runic Power to a DK is like Rage to a Warrior. The only difference is that we also have runes that we have to keep in mind. So even though we may have 100 Runic Power, you got to make sure you always have runes up. And Mind Freeze is like our Interrupt. It's like a kick or a Shield Slam or a Shield Bash or anything like that. So making it cost no Runic Power is definitely very helpful. Next up, you want to grab 2 out of 2 of Merciless Combat, which makes it so that your Howling Blast, Frost Strike, Obliterate, and Icy Touch do an additional 12% damage to any target that has less than 35% health. So this is great in PvP if you're getting ready to kill a priest, but then your priest pops a bubble, and that extra 12% damage, with the instant crit of Obliterate, could bust through that bubble and then kill your target. Next up, you want Chill of the Grave, 2 out of 2, because this just increases the amount of runic power your 4 main strikes will go ahead and generate. This up right here, this is one of your biggest talents. It's definitely a necessity. Killing Machine. It makes it so that your auto attacks have a chance to grant a 100% critical strike bonus to your next Obliterate or Frost Strike. So this definitely partakes with that talent right here that makes it so that that instant crit will, just wipe down your target. Now, I've had people debate on getting this. There are some people who will, there are some people who won't. It's, really up to them. I personally like it because I like having my Howling Blast cost no runes, so that way if I have a target running away from me and this procs, I can kill them from a far distance, because the range of Howling Blast is 30 yards. So if they're running away from me, if it's like, a warrior who's trying to get to a healer, and I have this up, I can go ahead and throw it at him and it'll kill them. But I've also seen people not do 3 out of 3 in here. I've seen them add 2 out of 2 on a Pale Horse and then throw up a point into another tree. But this is the spec I find most useful. Next up, you want Pillar of Frost. Pillar of Frost makes it so that you're immune to any knockbacks or anything like that, as well as increasing your strength by 20%. Now, not only is this just a great skill to use in general, but it also comes in you know, I don't know the word, but it helps with the macro that I'm going to go ahead and add on. So I'll go more over that in a few. Next up, we want Improved to Icy Talons. This increases the melee and ranged attack speed of all party and raid members within 100 yards by 10%, and your own attack speed by an additional 5%. So with this, plus being in Unholy Presence, your attack speed is much faster, especially since you're using dual wield. So, you can get off hits a lot faster, which means your skills might proc faster, so it's definitely something worthwhile. Next up, you want Brittle Bones 2 out of 2. This increases your strength by an additional 4%, and it also makes it so that Frost Fever chills the bones of its victims, increasing their physical damage taken. So you always want to make sure you have a Frost Fever up on your target, so that way they take an additional 4% damage. Next up, we want Chill Blades. As I said when I was talking about Icy Reach with your Chains of Ice, this makes it so that anytime you throw up Chains of Ice, it'll immobilize them for 3 seconds, and it also makes it so that their speed is reduced by 50% anytime you have a Frost Fever up. Next up, Hunger and Cold. Now, to those of you out there who have played a Frost Death Knight, all hate this change, but there wasn't much we could do about it. Blizzard gave Hunger and Cold a 1.44 cast time, basically a 1.5 second cast time, because of the insane CC that it partaked in any battleground. It was ridiculous, and I mean, yes, it's a little bit irritating, but a lot of the time people are stupid and don't interrupt it unless they're really good, so I still think it's worth it. I don't know if it's very viable in arenas, but in battlegrounds it's definitely worth getting, plus you need it to grab Howling Blast. And last but not least, in our tier 6, we want to grab 3 out of 3 of the Threat of Thessarian. Now, these two talents are determined based on whether you're rolling with a two-handed or you're rolling with a dual wield. Since we're rolling dual wield, we want to grab Threat of the Thessarian. Now, this makes it so that when you're dual wielding, your Death Strikes, Obliterates, Plague Strikes, Rune Strikes, Blood Strikes, and Frost Strikes all have a chance to also deal damage with your offhand weapon. So this is great, so not only will you hit, like let's say your Obliterate procs with Killing Machine, not only will you hit with your main hand, but you will also hit with your offhand. So you'll see 2 crits, and usually your offhand hits harder, so you'll see, like 16k, and then you'll see an extra 8 or 9 or 10k. So it's definitely, this is the talent you need if you're rolling dual wield. And last, in the Frost tree, we want to grab Howling Blast. It just blasts your target, and like I said, with Rhyme, it's a great thing for people who have low health, and it can crit. So I've had it crit for 18k before, so it's definitely, I definitely feel, it's just something you don't really have much of a choice. After you're done with your Frost tree, you're going to have 9 points left over. Now, this does partake with the fact, hold on you guys, sorry, I'm trying to, now, you'll have 9 points left over, and with that, you want to go ahead and grab 3 out of 3 of Bladed Armor in your Blood Tree to increase your attack power by 6 for every 180 armor value you have. Being a plate wearer, our armor is greater than a mail wearer, or a leather wearer, or a cloth wearer. So, that bonus to attack power, even if it's not a lot, it still does add up. And with your 6 remaining points, you want to throw 3 out of 3 in Virulence, which just increases the damage of your diseases. And to those of you who don't know, diseases are dots. And, someone could kill you and they'll have a little bit of HP left. And if your dots are, nice and refreshed, it'll kill them. So, great to have. And last, you want to go ahead and throw up 3 and 3 in Epidemic to increase the duration of your Blood Plague and Frost Plague by 12 seconds. So that sums up where you would throw your talent points in your trees, mainly your Frost tree, when rolling a dual-wielded Frost DK for PvP. Now for our glyphs, they're pretty much self-explanatory. there's no doubt about it. For your minor, or for your primes, you want to grab Howling Blast, which now makes your targets be inflicted with Frost Fever. Rune Strike, which makes it so that it's reduced by 8 runic power, and 8 runic power is a lot. And then you want Obliterate, which increases the damage by 20%. So not only are you getting the bonus from this right here with a 45%, you are also getting the bonus of 12 or 20%, and you're also getting this when you have Frost Fever up by an extra 4%. So, you know, those numbers definitely add up. In our major glyphs, we want to grab Anti-Magic Shell, which just increases the duration of it by 2 seconds. Hungering Cold, and yes, it may have a cast time, but this makes it so that it costs no runic power, and that definitely is worthwhile. And last, you want Strangulate. It silences your target by 2 seconds, or by an extra of 2 seconds when they're casting a spell. So great to use on healers, mages, elemental shamans, etc. And then in your minors, you want to grab Blood Tap, which is great for, you know, just grabbing runes when you need them. Horn of Winter, which is like a battle shout for a warrior. It just increases the duration by 1 minute. And then Death Gate, it just reduces the cast time. Now, that pretty much sums up this video, but before we finish, I want to go ahead and go over 3 macros that I've felt were most useful for my DK. The first one is Anti-Magic Shell. Now this right here is our macro. All it does is it casts Anti-Magic Shell, and then it casts Icebound Fortitude. Now, Icebound Fortitude basically reduces your physical damage done, and then Anti-Magic Shell absorbs magic damage. So it's great if you're in a serious situation, you kind of need to get out of there to get to a healer in time or something like that. It's great to throw that up. And with Icebound Fortitude having a longer CD, you'll know because when you pop it, it'll only pop Anti-Magic Shell. So if you want, you can, instead of doing Show Tooltip Anti-Magic Shell, you can make it say Show Tooltip of Icebound Fortitude, so you know the cooldown, because Anti-Magic Shell's cooldown is only 45 seconds. Icebound, I think, is like 3 minutes. So that's really up to you, but it's definitely saved my ass a bunch of times. Now remember when I was talking about Lynchborn? Lichborn, this is where that tooltip, or this is where that macro, that's, oh my god, fuck. That is where this skill comes into place. What this macro does is it casts Lynchborn, making you undead. Then you target yourself. You throw a death coil to heal yourself, and each death coil will usually heal yourself for about 15k. And then you target your last target, so that way you don't lose your target. So it's great for, you know, just getting that little bit remaining HP up to kill your target and then run away and heal up. So definitely, this is a necessity. This is a serious necessity. And last but not least, we have my quote-unquote Frost Ghoul. Now this casts Pillar of Frost and then Raise Dead. Now when your ghoul is summoned, it gains a percentage of your attack power or your strength. So when you cast Pillar of Frost and you gain that 20% strength, it increases your attack power, but it also increases the attack power of your ghoul. So having that extra bonus to your ghoul's attack power definitely makes a huge difference. But that has been the first part of this video, guys. Stay tuned and I will go ahead and go over the gemming, enchanting, and reforging, and possibly a rotation for this spec. I will see you guys shortly. See ya.